you. Thank you all for having me. It's been a crazy year for working in the immigration space. Unfortunately, we did lose our refugee resettlement program. We officially had the contract canceled in April. So the ACA has been in a big transition period trying to figure out what we can do. And so I'm going to start today with a little overview of the ACA, some of the legal services, and then I'll dive into my department and how we've pivoted from the refugee resettlement program into what we're trying to do now, some of the concerns we have about the future of those services, and then time permitting, we can do a little Q&A. Sound good? All right. So as always, I'd like to start the history of the ACA. Last year, we celebrated 85 years in the community. Big milestone. We were founded on the idea of providing citizenship education for immigrants who were here, brotherhood between individuals who were born and those who had come here to join our community. Today, that work continues through all the services that we provide today. It's a mission that our whole staff hold dear. I've never had the privilege of working in a single space where everyone was so committed to the mission, and that's something that I really think is special about the ACA. Not only are we there for our clients, but every staff member, every colleague that I have is really committed to this mission of building community between the immigrants who are living here and the people who were born here. So I'll start with the major service that the ACA has been providing in recent years is our legal immigration services. Immigration law can be, or immigration lawyers can be difficult to find. And so a few decades ago, the Department of Justice started this DOJ accrediting program where nonprofits who signed up and were approved by the Department of Justice could get accredited to provide legal aid and legal advice without unlawful practice of law. And so since that program started, the ACA has been a partner of this program, which allows us to provide low-cost access to legal aid, something that is significantly needed right now for individuals who may not understand their status, what it means, whether or not they're vulnerable to deportation. So our staff are not lawyers, but they are accredited to provide law advice, legal aid, to individuals in the scope of immigration law. So we help with citizenship, naturalization applications, family fiance petitions, asylum cases, deferred action for childhood arrivals, temporary protected status. And you don't need to know what all those things mean because that's what our expertise is. Basically, if you know of an immigrant in the area who is concerned about their legal vulnerabilities, their legal rights, we are permitted to provide that advice, legally allowed to provide that advice, even though we don't have lawyers on staff. When we do have very complicated cases, we've partnered with Journey's End Refugee Services. They're another refugee agency out of Boston. Not Boston, Buffalo. Wrong B, wrong B city. Out of Buffalo, they have satellite offices here in Binghamton, and they also spend some time at the ACA, and they can assist with legal services outside of immigration. So family law, divorce law, housing law, they can assist immigrants with those sort of services on a sliding scale as well. So again, all to say, we kind of try to all encompass that legal service. If you know of an immigrant who's looking for legal aid, we have it low cost or free for them to come, and they don't necessarily have to retain a lawyer right away. They can get consultation. On Mondays, we have free consultations. You can sign up on our website, and then you can always email contact@americancivic.com as well, and one of our staff will reach out and set up an appointment for you. Any questions about this? I can't answer. I'm not one of these DOJ accredited individuals. The law is not my expertise. I'm the human services side of things. But if you have any questions today, I'm more than happy to collect them and refer them to my. Yeah.
What about people that have green cards?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, they're already legally here. Mm-hmm. They got to renew. How often they have to renew a green card? Every like 8 or 10 years?
So couldn't tell you.
Okay.
But my colleagues can.
I've heard that even people with green cards are subject to deportation, possibly.
So the question is, are individuals with green cards subject to deportation? According to the way the law is right now, they should not be. There have been reports throughout the country of ICE and Border Patrol picking people up with green cards. And oftentimes those people are denied legal aid. There is proposed legislation in New York State that we want to try and guarantee representation for anybody going through immigration proceedings, because right now you're not guaranteed representation in that situation. So in theory, in most circumstances, and this is not legal advice, somebody with a green card should not be vulnerable for deportation. Whether or not they've been unduly abducted, that would be something for a lawyer to figure out, and that would be a referral to the ACA. If you know of somebody who's been detained, we can review their case and refer them to a lawyer who may be able to represent them in court.
Or you could help them get citizenship.
Yeah, if they're not currently detained, we can assess their situation and see what their pathway to citizenship is. Any other questions on the legal side of things? All right, thank you for your questions. All right, and now this is my new department, the Community Immigrant and Refugee Services Department. It's a mouthful, but this is basically our response to losing our refugee resettlement program. When the refugee resettlement program was closed, we had settled about 97 individuals in the southern tier over the prior 2 years. We had a bunch of families who were still adapting to life here in the southern tier, here in Binghamton. Many of them were working, but I think we all know low-wage jobs don't necessarily cover all the costs. These families didn't have any other supports than the ACA. So we had to figure out how were we going to continue if we were going to continue. We have a few other programs that we were running at the time that we've kind of combined into this CIRS department. I'll go over each program so we kind of understand what they are. But the core function of CIRS is to provide case management to immigrants of any status that come in and tell us that they need help. A lot of our programs before the refugee resettlement was closed were specific just for one type of immigrant. You either had to be a refugee, or you had to be an asylee, or you had to be a Ukrainian humanitarian parolee. The purpose of this is that if we lose programming that's specific for just one type of immigrant, we have something of a safety net to continue at least providing some sort of support regardless of what your status is. So that's the hope and guiding motivation of the CRS department. We start with case management, we figure out what we need. If you're eligible for some of our other grant services, awesome. If you're not, let's figure out what we can connect you to, what you might be eligible for, and how we can help you. So we do have walk-in hours on Tuesdays from 9 to 4. Anybody that may need us can come in. Otherwise, you can reach out to me, and my contact information is here, but also in the closing slide. They can reach out and set up an appointment. They can reach out in their native language. We can handle the translation on our end, no worries. We just need to know that you need help, and we'll figure it out. So I'm going to go over kind of the suite of services that we provide at the moment, as long as with some of the kind of pain points or concerns that we have of each of those programs going forward. Our oldest and longest lasting program at this point now is the RSSP USARA program. RSSP is Refugee Support Services Program, and the USARA program is a long acronym I never remember, but effectively it's for Ukrainian humanitarian parolees. And these programs specifically are set up to provide some job readiness for long-term self-sufficiency. They also offer a little bit of supports in like groceries or rental assistance, but it's not the main focus. The focus of these programs is primarily, on employment assistance. Now, the major concern with these programs right now is we don't have a ton of refugees coming in, and those that we do have coming in are not necessarily of Ukrainian descent, or they're not necessarily coming to New York because our contract has ended. So these programs are specific for Ukrainians and for refugees. And so with few people coming in, we can't hit our deliverables. Most grants in this state are run on reimbursement, so we don't have people that we can help, so we don't have the grant money coming in because we helped them. So it's a little bit of a kind of catch-22. We've got nobody here, no one to help, and no one to prove that we're helping. We do have an existing client base, but as they attain self-sufficiency, they no longer need these services. And so we're kind of looking for help, maybe identifying any refugees or Ukrainian refugees that we necessarily haven't worked with yet who might still be able to be enrolled in our program. We're always looking for employers who are willing to work with immigrants and refugees regardless of their status, because that's a consistent barrier for that program. Next up is our Assistant to Migrants program. This one is relatively new, but also the most likely to be something that we lose in the coming years, if not by the end of this year. Um, this is specifically a program for individuals who are non-citizens. Um, they can be undocumented, they can have a pending asylum case. This is here for the individuals who do not technically have legal resident in the US. One of the major purposes of this program is to connect with them and provide them a pathway to citizenship, or at least a pathway to legal residence. But it's also just there to provide support. Despite political rhetoric about what immigrants are able to receive from social services, most refugee and immigrant statuses are not eligible to receive benefits in this country. Um, Undocumented individuals can only receive health care in life saving circumstances, with the exception of children. All children under 19 are provided health care in New York State, so that's something that we're able to assist with. So the purpose of this program is to make sure that these families have support, because there really are no other networks of support for those who are trying to live here and find a way forward. And additionally, that pathway to citizenship costs a lot of money and a lot of legal representation. So again, we're here to provide that low cost legal assistance that can hopefully get them towards a citizenship application in their future, so that they can be secure that they can live here for the long term. So obviously, given the population that this program specifically wants to work with, it's the same population that the government is currently trying to excise from our communities. So we have growing fear, growing reluctance to come out of the home and seek assistance, to admit that you're undocumented. So we have trouble finding individuals who may need assistance here. We are talking about providing services remotely, or doing home visits for individuals who don't necessarily want to come out to the community and risk deportation. Um, and of course, funding instability. It is a state run program, so technically the feds can't cancel the program at the moment. But there's a lot of friction between New York and the federal government right now. And so what will that mean for this program going forward? We don't know. Technically, the contract is for 3 years. This would be the first year. A lot of uncertainty if that's something that we'll be able to move forward with. Our newest program is with the Social Care Network. This is run by Care Compass in the local area. This is not an immigrant focused program, and this is actually one of the ways that my department has been pivoting to help continue provide services. This is something that is run through Medicaid, part of the Affordable Care Act waiver, that allows states to come up with innovative programming to increase availability of services for individuals on Medicaid. So this is, we still only serve immigrants and refugees through this program, but this is a program that is here in Broome County. I know organizations like the YWCA, Family and Children, are doing screenings for this as well. So if you know low income families that are in need of service who are on Medicaid, you can always reach out to me, and I can see if there's somebody in your neighborhood that is providing services for non-immigrants as well. The idea is that families who are on Medicaid likely need assistance with other things: utility assistance, housing assistance, food assistance, transportation assistance. The program has a lot of what they call enhanced services that can be provided through different partners in the agency. One of the services that we provide is cooking supplies. They get a stipend of like $300. We can bring them to the store, and they can pick up whatever they want that counts as cooking supplies, and go home with brand new set of pots and pans, new dishes for their family. It's really great. It's great to be able to go out and shop with these families, and they can pick whatever they want. That's not a lot of services allow you to just get what you say you need. We've also provided a lot of housing assistance through this program, and Care Compass has been really great about their reimbursement cycle as well. So it's one of our partnerships right now that is most successful and is still thriving. But the big beautiful bill is removing Medicaid and SNAP access from a lot of immigrant statuses in the coming year. So clients who are currently eligible for these services may lose that eligibility as we move forward and those deadlines come up. Additionally, still with client fear, there's a lot of documentation that's required to participate in this program. We need your Medicaid information. We need your home information. These are things that people are afraid to share, especially given that this is the healthcare system of the state. So they may not necessarily want to sign up for this for fear of some sort of a list. So we're dealing with a lot of hesitation. Even clients that are fully legally present are worried about deportation. There's a lot of information out there that makes you very unsure. And so even if they technically are protected and are legally residing here, there's still a lot of fear about coming out and signing up for services like this. And then also limited providers. One of the services under this program is like meal delivery for people that qualify. They'll bring meals to your home up to like, I think, like 10 meals a week or something like that. We have a lot of clients who are Muslim, and not a lot of those meal delivery programs provide halal or kosher foods. So, yeah, the service is there, but if you don't eat pork and we deliver you pork, we're not really helping you eat. So, we're kind of hoping that this is a brand new program for the state overall, started in January. So, we're hoping that more providers will sign up and we'll be able to continue providing services through this. And we're hoping that a decent portion of our clients will still be able to maintain eligibility over the coming years. And then lastly, what we're calling our Thriving Communities Initiative. This is a completely holistic and extremely volatile program at the moment. But it's basically, we're trying to create a safety net for anybody who needs help, but they are not eligible under those other programs. This is funded entirely through private donations or private resources or unrestricted funding. But effectively, we have determined a sliding scale for clients up to, I think we set it at 200% of the poverty scale, just to provide a large window there. And based on where they are and their household size, they're allowed to receive a certain amount of direct assistance funds per year. They reset annually from when they signed up. They direct where this money goes. We don't provide money directly to them, but they can say, well, I want you to pay my medical fees. I want you to pay for my NYSEG bill. I want you to pay my rent next week. And so we really like this program because it just lets them tell us what they need most. And then we're able to provide a payment to help them cover that services and have a little bit of relaxation that they're getting some of their needs met. Obviously, this is entirely dependent on unrestricted and non-grant funding. The pool we started this off was relatively small and is mostly exhausted at this point. We started in June. And so with all of the restrictions coming down and all of the families pulling back from other services, we're seeing increased demand while that pool of funds is decreasing. And so having to make prioritization calls about, well, does this person need rent more than this person needs their NYSEG bill paid? It's stressful. It's stressful for us. It's way more stressful for them to not know whether or not they can get that assisted. But we're hoping that if we can continue this over the next few years and build community support and maintain realistic income on that program, that we'll be able to continue providing people who are falling through the cracks of other programs.
What is the poverty level now that you're working with? You know?
No, most of our families, most of the people signed up through this program are still our refugee families, and I don't think any of them are making maybe more than 20,000 a year for their household, regardless of what that household is. So pretty low. It takes a long time to build up resources, and refugees came here with nothing. So, but so far, nobody that has signed up through this program, everyone that signed up through this program has qualified for at least $1,000 of assistance annually. So we're not seeing anybody that exceeds that income level.
Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. But just some metrics so we can kind of see who we're helping with these programs, who's coming in for help, what kind of families are we helping with. These statistics are very similar to our refugee resettlement program. If you ever saw me present on this, none of this will be surprising necessarily. Roughly 50% of our clients are children. Refugee and immigrant families tend to be larger than the average American family size. So we have a lot more children who are dependent on our services. And our clients come from a broad swath of origin. North Africa, obviously North America is where our staff are from. Central America, Eastern Europe, Southeast Asia tend to be the largest populations we're serving right now, but that shifts all the time. This is where the majority of the funds in our program are going right now, 70% going to rent. I don't think anybody working with people that have that need assistance in Broome County will be surprised by this. Housing costs here are very prohibitive. Utilities about 9%. Medical fees. One thing that we've been able to do through our new program.
Like Florida's beautiful train. People.
That's the but individuals who are pursuing green cards have to undergo medical examinations. Those medical exams are not covered by insurance because they're not routine exams. And so those tend to be to the tune of $400 a person. So if you're a family of 5, you're a single mom trying to get your family green cards, that's an extremely prohibitive cost that prevents you from getting citizenship, even though you're technically following that right way we all hear about. And so we've been able to use about 13% of our funds covering those medical fees. It's something we're very excited about and want to continue doing so we can help getting people to obtain their green cards and feel a little bit more safety once they're here. And then the lower cost is cooking supplies and food. That 5% is still pretty significant for the individuals who need it, though. But we've been able to provide through all of our different programs probably an additional $700 to $800 of assistance per person, and that's for those of you who remember the Refugee Resettlement program. Individuals arrived with $1,350 to last them 90 days. So we've been able to provide a little bit more, over half of that again, through these services. So we're continuing the care. It's not necessarily the same scope, but we're trying to build that way. But the legacy of those services is surviving through our other programming, and that's something we're very proud of. And then our last slide here. These are just some of the things that we do outside of all of our programming as well. Monday through Friday, we have ESL classes in our basement, partnered with Binghamton City School District. The classes run from 9 o'clock to 12 o'clock, and then they have evening classes on Tuesdays and Thursdays from 5 to 8. We also have citizenship exam preparation courses. It's run by volunteers on Saturdays at 10:15. That's for anybody who's ready to tackle that exam, which they just made harder a few weeks ago. So additional study time will definitely be needed. We run community workshops a few times a year, not a few times a year, a few times a month. Apologies. Those workshops are open to anybody. They're not just for refugees and immigrants. Our events planner, Sulamina Burns, she'll go and talk to our clients, ask them what they want to learn more about, and she will develop workshops based on what they're looking for. But those tend to be what a lot of people in the community want to learn about: how to own a home, how to buy a car, financial literacy. You have a question?
You mentioned the citizenship exam just got harder.
Mm-hmm.
How many of current American citizens would probably be able to pass it?
Very few. We actually have, when we do tabling, we have a deck of cards, which are the questions on the previous citizenship exam. And the number of New Yorkers that don't know that the Statue of Liberty is in New York is a depressing statistic. So yeah, the citizenship exam, many people that live here and were born here would fail it. Absolutely.
What did they change it to? You said they just changed it recently to make it harder?
Yeah, they added questions, and they made the questions more difficult. I don't know how to contextualize that because I haven't seen the new exam. But this was intentional. They intentionally made it harder because they're trying to make immigrants prove more that they deserve to be here. The goal was to strengthen the questions to make it harder to pass.
How soon before the current administration forces all of us to take that exam?
I can only guess, but I think you and I are on the same page here.
Well, they wouldn't be able to pass either, so I don't think it would be.
That's true.
They don't have to pass. They're the administration.
Have
Sorry.
private family sponsors, families that sponsor another refugee family.
So there was an existing framework of private sponsorship for refugees in the U.S. The refugee program is mostly closed for anybody not from South Africa at this point. So we don't have that, but we have discussed, and we have a new marketing manager that I want to talk to you about this. We've discussed having communities sponsor families that are already here and maybe connect families who want to help with a family that's struggling to kind of build connection. So keep your eyes posted. We might have something like that. I wouldn't expect another couple months before we build a framework, but
So my next question is, these refugees don't have any benefits.
Mhm.
So say there's a teenager refugee. Could a family take in as a sponsor or take in the refugee and claim them as a dependent?
that
And
sounds like
then-
a question for my legal team.
And then if they're a dependent to a family, then they could get medical benefits. And they'd have a roof over their head.
Yeah. So we would. It wouldn't be refugees because refugees actually do have benefits. But migrants or individuals who are undocumented or individuals who are asylees or human parolees might benefit from something like that. I'm not sure. We would definitely have to talk to an immigration lawyer about that. But I think it's worth pursuing. Absolutely. I think a lot of families would be
Use the
open
word
to.
parolees. Not
Yeah,
that I'm a
so-
parolee that was.
Yeah. And that, thank you, because I
If
should
there was a better-
explain that.
if There was a better name, like I'm not allowed to use handicap anymore. I have to use impaired person.
Yeah. One of the ways to come into the U.S. is humanitarian parole. And so in the USCIS, the United States Immigrant and Customs, that's the term for that status, is a humanitarian parolee. So it's not related to our justice system in any way. It's purely on basis of how you came in here. So that's what I mean when I say that. I agree. There's a lot of better words we could use in immigration, and we can work on that.
When you say a humanitarian parolee, do you mean that somebody that's asking for asylum and hasn't gotten it yet? Or
Nope.
is that a whole different status?
It's a whole different system. I couldn't tell you the weeds on that because again, that's the law side, and that's not my expertise.
So there's actually a difference between immigrants
Mhm.
and undocumented refugees,
Well, so
or no, undocumented
Refugees and undocumented
Pardon?
immigrants.
Yeah.
people.
yeah, so basically what I say is immigrants is the umbrella term that covers all the other statuses, and then there's just a bunch of statuses underneath that umbrella. You have humanitarian parolees, you have undocumented, you have refugees, and those are all different. Refugees, if you hear of somebody saying they're a refugee, that is somebody who came into the country through the legal United States Refugee Assistance
Right.
Program, has the right to work, has the right to benefits, has freedom of movement throughout the U.S. Whereas somebody who's undocumented, they might have come in with approval but overstayed their approval, or they might have just come in and not been identified at the border. There are so many different circumstances that, like, really any of the words that we use in day to day, we're really not using correctly when it comes to the legal status of who individuals are, which makes that conversation harder because the general public is not really educated on what different statuses
Right.
mean and what the differences are.
Do you know if anybody has successfully accepted Christy Nome's $1,000 plus plane ticket to be sent back to their home country?
Yeah.
And then actually came back legally?
Oh, no, nobody's come back legally, but we did have a client recently that we were trying to assist with rent who was detained, held in Buffalo, and after meeting with a judge, despite their pending asylum case, agreed to deport back to their home country.
Their home country.
Whether or not that individual returns, we don't know because we no longer have contact with them. So it is incentivizing, it's coercive, but it does,
I wonder
people
if
do
they're ever
choose
gonna
it.
be allowed to come back.
My guess would be no, but we don't know, and there's a lot of uncertainty. People who've taken the offer, but not yet anybody who's returned.
When you mentioned the having an examination for getting green card status,
Mhm.
are there local doctors who are willing to give a break to have cheaper physicals that they would give? Or is that something that the local medical association could be
Yeah, pro bono.
challenged to say?
So they call it civil surgeon. To be a civil surgeon, you have to I don't know if it's a licensure, but you have to be approved for it. I don't know what that process is. But I also know that the doctor's office can't charge insurance for it, and many of the doctors I've met are maybe not as humanitarian minded as we might think they are. And so there was a local doctor who is still practicing, who was our cheapest option at $350 a person, but she stopped taking new clients who were in need of that exam. And so now we have to help clients drive out to Pennsylvania, or there's another town that's like 2 hours north of us in order to even get the exam.
If you contact the Cornerstone Health that's out there near, I think Saratoga Housing, they got a special status, something like a federally qualified thing.
Okay.
And a little bit I know about them, they're not the same as a hospital because I think it's called a federally qualified community health or something.
Okay.
And they come under totally different rules, what most people are aware of. I just don't understand it.
Okay, it's worth taking a look at. I know for the green card exam, you do have to go to a approved civil surgeon. So if they're under a different system, they probably couldn't help with this.
What
But
I'm
there might
saying
be
is
other things that they
They're
can
under
help
a
us
different
with.
system as far as you going in to get medical care.
Mhm.
They're at a higher level than a hospital.
Okay,
They're federal.
Cornerstone, you
It's not
said?
a community hospital, they're a federal hospital,
Okay, I'll take a look.
if they're still funded.
Please.
My brain's going a little slow today.
No worries.
If a person is in this country illegally as, let's say, a farm worker
Mhm.
or chicken plucker or
Mhm.
whatever it is that they're doing, would they qualify to get service?
Yes, yeah. The ACA is here to help immigrants, full stop.
Yes. Okay,
Regardless of
that's
what
what
your
I.
status is. Our program that specifically works with undocumented folks is designed to drive them towards a legal pathway to citizenship,
Oh, my God, yeah.
so that they have less vulnerability. But I can speak for myself and my staff. Maybe not everybody at the ACA, but at least for the human services side, we don't care what your status is. We're here to help people in the community. We're here to help immigrants in the community. If we're asking about status, it's just for qualification of grants. But we'll help anybody. It's what our passion is. So yeah, if you know, and that's why I said we want to like go to households as well and do home visits for people who don't necessarily want to come out, because it's kind of frightening to leave your home sometimes. You have a question?
Back in the 80s, I was a member of a different church and we sponsored a family. And
Mhm.
I don't know who it was through now. Now that I think back, I don't know who did that. Do you know if the ACA does that with churches or?
Wasn't it the Brooke County Council of Churches?
I really don't know.
Yeah.
I wouldn't be surprised. I know a lot of the private sponsoring has often come through faith-based organizations. I know that prior to me starting at the ACA, and even 5 years before that, they were doing a refugee program as well, but that was also through the federal program, and so none of that is private sponsorship. So I don't know that we've ever participated in that. And while we were a federal resettlement agency, we were unofficially told not to participate in that because the systems were not exactly the same, and so it could kind of families that sponsor individuals were supposed to be responsible for them, and were sometimes pushing responsibility off onto federal resettlement agencies. And so they kind of like had a wall there. But now that we're not officially a resettlement agency, I think we could be involved in assisting those clients at the very least as like case management and resource development. I know that there was, John, I'm going to do some research because there was an organization, and it was even started by the feds, to create more private sponsorship of families. And when the resettlement program was closed, they pivoted as well. And they're still in operation. I think they're called welcome.us, but I'll look that up and I'll send you that resource. But there are a number of other private agencies that are trying to get families here. not to get too far into legal stuff, but there's a status of immigrant called a special immigrant visa holder. And those are individuals who worked with the U.S. government in Afghanistan, who were effectively abandoned there when the U.S. pulled out. And they have an opportunity still to come to the U.S. They are approved to still arrive and receive services. For a while this year, the government stopped paying for their plane tickets. And so there were a lot of nonprofits that were built to pay for plane tickets to help them get here. I think recently that ruling was overturned and we've started paying for their travel again. But please.
Would that apply to an Afghani who had settled in another country, for example, Germany, Switzerland, France, and now had asylum there?
That's a good question. The refugee program, the way it worked was you had to be in a country not your own to come here. The SIVs are a little different. So it really would depend on whether or not they're formally a refugee or if they're a special immigrant visa candidate. But we could potentially talk to one of our immigration team about that and see if they qualified as a refugee. Nobody knows what's going on with that program right now. According to international law, we're supposed to have a program, so they technically can't officially shut it down totally, but please.
With USAID being gutted out, what, 6, 7, 8 months ago?
Yeah.
What's been the fight, the impact on ACA? Has it been very severe?
Well, so USAID was not really domestic, so we weren't really too involved in that. It was really a lot of international.
Okay.
Yeah. But I mean, when we lost the refugee resettlement program, we lost a projected like $90,000 in administrative funding or something like that. So there's been a pretty large financial loss in the ACA based on federal action this year. So, you know, not directly tied to USAID, but the objectives of the current administration are directly negatively impacting us.
Negative. Okay.
We know there was a version of the Big Beautiful Bill that wanted to target nonprofits with folks. That provision was removed, but who knows when it comes back. So, you know, the future of the ACA and what it looks like is really anybody's guess at this point.
Every time the Big Beautiful Bill is mentioned, it just makes me scream.
Yeah, same. I don't like saying it, but we got to reference it to know like who's at fault. Yeah, I hear you.
So Steve, what is the how much of a presence has ICE had in the Binghamton area, and how traumatized is the immigrant community from all of this?
Yeah, so we've been lucky, and we don't have a particularly large ICE presence right now. But we
In the jail.
Yeah. So I'm going to coalesce all these comments into but we have had a number of scares. Just a few weeks ago, 9 people throughout Broome County were detained in like a big sweep of the county. There was a video being circulated of ICE detaining somebody that was taken by one of our refugee clients. So they're here in our communities, not as often as they are in the city or Chicago, but they're here. And as well, our sheriff is one of 7 sheriffs in all of our state to sign a 287G agreement with ICE, which allows them to, when they pick up somebody who is undocumented, they can serve them a warrant and inform ICE that they have this individual so that ICE can pick them up. And we are also providing space in our county jail for ICE to detain individuals until they can move them to one of their own facilities. There was a legislative hearing last Thursday asking the county legislator to not approve Asher's next budget bill until he stops colluding with ICE. They paused their decision after community outcry. We don't know if they're going to move forward with it. They probably will because money speaks. But ICE is here, and our sheriff is colluding with them, and it will likely escalate in coming years.
To clarify what you just said, that 287, you're saying the county sheriffs, the deputy sheriffs, go out to pick up people before ICE in effect?
So no, and that is one of Asher's defenses for his decision to do this, is that There are two versions of this agreement. One where you serve warrants to people you've already picked up through normal process of policing the community, and then another program where you actually help identify and target individuals. Our agreement locally is just the warrant one. So the defense of this agreement is that there are people that are already being picked up for breaking the law in some form or another who are then identified as undocumented.
Oh, so in other words, they pick somebody up through NCIS or whatever it is. They put the person's name in, and it pops up as being flagged as this person's undocumented. Then the sheriff acts on that fact and brings
To
them
provide a
to
warrant
charges.
and inform ICE that that individual's here so that they can process them for deportation.
So
Something
the-
like that.
The
It's money
database out there
motivated.
somewhere.
Huh?
Undocumented people.
It's money motivated also.
Oh, yeah.
They get paid for everyone that gets put into that jail.
Yeah. Yeah. I think ICE is paying $110 per bed that we utilize for their services. Yeah. So it's caused a lot of fear, to answer your question, John. Again, individuals who are here legally are still afraid. They're hearing all the stories that we're hearing about citizens and green card holders and asylum seekers being picked up by ICE. And so, my staff are continuing this work, but every day they're receiving messages of people living in fear, people who are afraid, people who are worried that they're going to be sent back to, deadly situations in their home country. And having an agreement with ICE here, even if it's as passive as the sheriff tells us it is, stokes that fear and makes individuals less likely to receive services that support them. And then the less supported individuals in our community are, the more it stresses even those of us who are not immigrants. So it has a butterfly effect. And there really is a large push to get the sheriff to rescind that agreement. We'll see what happens.
What's really sad is he's Ukrainian too. He's Ukrainian descent.
Yeah, I mean, we're all descendant from immigrants for the most part. So,
He's like second generation.
yeah. Any other questions,
I find
please?
that revolting.
Other than, I mean, we already contribute money.
Yeah, and thank you. Yes.
What can we do other than contribute money?
Yeah, it's a good question. I mean, anybody who's willing to exercise political pressure and influence, we can use. The mayor of City of Binghamton has said that his police will not cooperate with ICE. That doesn't necessarily mean they're going to obstruct ICE. So what does that mean? We haven't really passed any major legislation in the area to protect people in our community. New York in general is being more passive than I would like. So, pressuring your elected officials is a start. I know we're probably going to need in the coming years bail and bond funding for immigrants that are picked up who are being detained and will need to pay to be released to their family and loved ones. Honestly, we live in a capitalist society and money goes a long way. We've started canvassing our clients. Canvassing is not the right word, but it's the only one I can think of right now. Our clients about what the impact of not receiving SNAP next month is going to be. We've only talked to 15 families. We're already looking at like $8,000 in missing food funds. So community food drives can be helpful. I know Good Neighbors has started something like that.
Good Neighbors is doing a grocery giveaway this afternoon over in Vestal at Memorial Park Baptist Church.
Yeah.
And they're serving a meal with it, I've been told.
Yeah, community meals are great as well.
So you really wouldn't be looking for like more sheets and pillowcases and stuff like that.
There is that program we've been doing, but
Yeah.
the question is, how useful is that?
So one thing that we're trying to do is figure out exactly what the items that individuals need are. But one of the other things that we've been doing with donated goods, I couldn't tell you exactly what families need. Especially right now, a lot of them, you call them up and they're just like, yeah, we're good. They're not good, but they're telling us that they're good. But with our monthly food bank, which is on the second Wednesday of every month, we've been putting out donated items as well and letting families just pick up what they receive. So continuing to donate items, if you guys want to bring things in on one of these Wednesdays, storage space is limited, but we'd be happy to receive. Kids pick up toys and books, families pick up toasters, clothing, and things like that. Trying to turn it into like a food and donation corner for like that 1 day per month.
How is the volume of your donations been over from 2 years ago to last year to this year? What's your volume doing?
I don't directly receive funds from our donations.
No, I mean
When
donations, the actual physical donations, people bringing stuff in.
yeah, again, I don't handle it directly, so I couldn't tell you. I know that every month we have a large portion of donations to provide people, and I know that you guys collect a ton of donations, and there's another church in Endicott that collects donations for us as well. So there is a large chunk of donations, but because we don't have new families coming in, a lot of that stuff is maybe not as necessary as it used to be. We have helped a few families move to new houses where they've needed new items and things, so they've still been useful. But we're not moving, as readily as we were when we were settling whole new families here in the area. So the scope of what we need has been changed a little bit.
Are any of the local contractors helping you with financial donations, with the fact that some of them, 65% of their crew are immigrants? Are the contractors? I mean, it's a tax write-off. They gave you a donation. It's a tax write-off for them, right?
It sounds like a great campaign. I'll talk to my marketing manager about it.
I mean, in my industry, if you go and look at the construction projects, 65% of the workers are Chilean, Honduran, or Mexican. And their goal is by Friday to send as much money as they can back to their families in their home country. And right up the street, I've got a house being done. 65% of them are.
Yeah, you're right. I live in Port Dickinson, and we got hit pretty hard with that storm that came through. Every roof in my neighborhood's being fixed, and all those crews are primarily Latino. Yeah.
Binghamton slag roofing.
I'm a tenant, so I don't make the choice, but noted. We had a couple questions? No? Okay. Yeah, I mean, we're at 12:30. I'm happy to keep answering questions. I could talk about this all day. It's what I do. But I'll just pop over here. My contact information is here. Reach out, email me. I do not always respond very quickly. Things are very hectic. Thank you for your legendary patience this year, because I know it takes me a while to get back sometimes. But we prioritize emergencies over anything else. So if somebody really has a need, that will get a response sooner than later.
As you know, we do have a fund for a community. In fact, the things that we've given, we gave $5,000.
Yes, yeah.
And actually we jacked that up with $5,000 for the diocese. So, and that was for individual families needs, I think, for the refugees.
Yeah.
But the question is, I mean, we do have funding. It's not gigantic amounts every year, and it does need to usually be targeted for one thing or another.
Okay.
So the question would be, if we do some more of that, what would the most useful thing be to ACA? I mean, just talking maybe $2,000. We're not talking.
Yeah. No. I mean, I think housing assistance, a few $1,000s could be spread out to take a chunk out of a bunch of families' rents. They cover the rest. That's been very helpful in the past. Keeps a roof over their head. Keeps their kids warm. Rent and utilities are the big ones, and then the third one would be maybe like medical fee coverage that I mentioned for those green card applications.
Why does it have to be physicians doing those medical?
Because that is what the federal government
practitioners
has.
are certainly licensed to do it.
Yeah.
No, but we could, start doing something. I mean, the professional nursing organizations could put pressure on that.
Yeah, and there might be an opportunity for them too. I can't say for sure. I just know that exclusively the civil surgeons we've worked with have been doctors. But if it's not already expanded, I wouldn't think that they're going to expand that eligibility now, because the federal government's not particularly interested in making this an easier process. But it's worth thinking about, and maybe New York would be willing to make some sort of a provision. So I can look into that, but I'm not sure.
Well, Steve, thank you very much.
Yeah, and thank you all.